All right, today's December 31st, 2024, New Year's Eve in the afternoon, and we wanted to come down here downtown Cincinnati. I got Brady with me here. I'm filming on my phone because I forgot my daggone GoPro. We're downtown Cincinnati today, going to go to the Greater Cincinnati Police Museum. We're excited about it. Welcome to Jeff's Trips. Thanks for coming along. And we parked right here in Keene's parking lot, right next to the building. Currently 2 o'clock. Closes at 4. They say this is right next to the casino, by the way. Right next to the Hard Rock Casino. All right. Cool. Something to do.
Yeah, from the old station.
I don't know. I guess we'll learn about it. We'll learn about it. Going up to the second floor. Are we going? Can you push 2? Uh-oh. Ow.
Well, I guess we should just take the stairs then.
Yeah.
Why did it work?
I don't know. Elevator didn't work. I'm gonna get $1 off my admission for walking up the steps.
The first unofficial police dog in the city of Cincinnati. Back in the late 1800s, Big Joe O'Neill, or James O'Neill, he was working down in the Bottoms, which is along the riverfront, really a rough part of town. And it was one cold night, and he hears this whimpering coming from a doorway. And he investigates and finds Handsome as a puppy. Well, he takes him back to District 2, and he'll get him warm, and Handsome lives there for years and years. He actually goes out on patrol with some of the city officers, participate in some arrests. They said only a uniformed officer could feed him, with the exception of one cook from this one restaurant. Otherwise, he'd bite their hand. So he's actually participated in some arrests.
And what was his name?
Handsome.
Handsome.
All officers killed in the line of duty. From, when was it, 18...
That's a lot.
1849 to present. Covers all the agencies we cover or we're in with. Couple, if you see some of these, that's about probably what his age was.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, you see Luther Brooks. Or do you guys know about weapons at all? How they have like a hammer block?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you drop them, they don't discharge. Well, he had a tunic on and with a holster or a pistol in his pocket, leaned over, it fell, hit the hammer, and shot himself in the head. Because of that, they started putting hammer blocks on. A couple of these motorcycle guys, one had a crash on his motorcycle, so they gave his leather jacket to another motorcycle cop. 6 months later, he had a fatal crash, so they got rid of the motorcycle jacket also.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There are some canines also included in the list, as well as FBI agents. These 4 FBI agents here, they were on a plane coming into Lincoln Airport, and they had a bad guy with them, and he was going to show them where he buried all his loot. He was an embezzler, and it was an ugly day, and they actually crashed and hit a building in the city of Montgomery, crashed and the 4 FBI agents perished.
And they were coming into Lunken Airport.
Yeah.
That was a big miss, crashing in Montgomery.
Yeah.
What year was that?
82.
Oh, okay, it's crazy.
And Philip Pence, who was stabbed, he worked at the workhouse. He was actually the first law enforcement funeral that I went to. As a deputy. They bring in extra pieces of here just to display it.
So this month you're honoring or a department called a Department of the
Highlighting
Month?
them, yeah.
Highlighting them, yeah. Department of the Month, Claremont County Sheriffs.
Thing about the county sheriffs in Ohio, we all wore the same badge and same patch. The only difference is on most of the badges, a regular badge, it would say like Hamilton County or Claremont County.
Okay. That's cool.
You're not from the west side of town.
I thought you left.
I'm going. I'm going.
This is the evidence collection room.
Back in the day, they didn't, before fingerprints, they used what they called the Bertillon method, which if you were arrested, had 9 different measurements taken. Okay? And then they listed them. And if you got rearrested and these measurements equaled the measurements there, that's who you were. That worked out okay until the West brothers came along. William and Bill West, they were identical twins, but they were separated at birth. Neither one knew they had a brother. Okay?
One guy was bad, one guy wasn't.
Well, one guy was being arrested. It was in Leavenworth, Kansas. He was arrested. They did his measurements. They said, well, you're Bill West. He goes, no, I've never gone by Bill. That's not me.
Yeah.
Well, all your measurements are the same. He goes, no, my name's William, not Bill. And this went on and on until another officer walks in the room and said, yeah, we have Bill upstairs locked up.
Is that right?
So that kind of discredited the ways of identification using this method. So they started going with fingerprints.
So now identical twins, they have the same fingerprint, or are there differences on that?
Identical twins, they have the same DNA, but different fingerprints.
That's interesting. I'd never really thought about that question before until you were just talking about that story.
There are 2 different types of prints that we talk about. One's latent prints. Those are prints that we leave whenever we touch something. Second one is ink prints. Ink prints are ones that you'd put ink on here, put on your finger and roll it, and they would have a technician compare the 2. And they would go through all the fingerprint cards to compare them. Now this is a picture of the FBI fingerprint classification section. Those cabinets have all fingerprint cards in them.
Diesel Petzels.
Is that in Virginia?
I believe this was DC when this was taken. Right after I left, made it so much easier. They could just do the print here. It would show if it was good or not.
When was that? How long ago was that?
Probably 91.
Okay.
And then they just press a button and it would scan all the prints.
That's when it came in online, or that's when it got retired? This piece of machinery.
They started using it when I...
Okay.
Now, it's like all things technology, the things have gotten better and smaller.
Yeah.
This is a homemade anhydrant cabinet. Basically, they use a chemical called anhydrant. They would, if they wanted to get fingerprints off of paper, kind of almost like what you see on TV when they use super glue. But they would hang up the paper and put anhydrant in the solution in the
It would evaporate up and stick on
the fumes would stick to the fingerprint oils. Now, from what I understand, they only did this usually on a Friday afternoon because that anhydrant stuff stank. Stank up the whole office. So they want to do it while they had to sit around in it.
I was thinking it might take some time, like over the weekend, for it to percolate and make the print visible.
Yeah. Then they have the forensic optical comparator. Basically, this allowed a technician to compare two different things at the same time, whether it be fingerprint cards or bottle koozies.
Yeah. That's kind of like a microfiche thing,
Yeah.
except for it, you put whatever in there, right?
Now, most departments have specialty units. This is a display of Cincinnati SWAT. This is one of door rams that they used. You can tell it's quite
Yeah,
heavy.
these are
Puppy out.
Yeah. But think about doing that after you ran up
Right.
3 flights of steps.
Better get that cardio. Better get that cardio.
They also
How heavy is this puppy?
That-
Oh, that's not too bad.
You can lift it if you like. Again, think about carrying that up
Yeah.
3 flights of steps before you did something.
Plus your other stuff you got.
This unit carried a pelt gun with them. Any guesses on why they would have a pelt gun?
Less lethal.
Not
Dog
exactly.
animals?
No,
Not exactly.
I wouldn't know.
If it's at night and they're underneath a street lamp, they don't want to be lit up, so they shoot out the street lamp.
Okay.
Easier to replace a street lamp the next day than other ways.
Plus it probably does it more quietly.
Yep.
That's smart, yeah.
Behind you is the McGruff crime dog and Dare.
I didn't even see him standing there.
I don't know if you noticed, if you remember McGruff.
I remember him,
Crime Dog
yep, yep.
Then this is a Kodak moment if you want any pictures taken next to
Okay.
McGruff.
We'll definitely do that.
These are from the FBI. They had a display of the top 10 most wanted people. And then when they took the display down, they were donated to us. These are supposed to be the actual sizes of the most wanted.
So not only did you get a picture of them, but you
Here's a bunch of handcuffs throughout the ages. Now these we do not have keys for, so don't put them on. But starting with these come-alongs, a jailer would put them on, and if somebody transporting them from court, they just come along, and usually paying compliance men come along. You'll see pictures throughout the museum. We call them inspection day photos. Once a year, an officer would have to put on his best uniform and go to their district and be inspected. And usually a photograph is taken. These went through the 1800s up to 1980 something when the police chief stopped them. Later on, they started doing them again. So you'll see them throughout the museum, just up on the wall.
yeah, those are really cool pictures. Do they
Crosley Field, is that
are
Crosley
these-
Field?
Crosley Field,
Yeah.
yes.
single individual, like one, or like, do they make
One
copies?
district, or I don't know if they make copies
Like,
of.
could you
or
like
not.
buy a picture like this on Amazon? I guess.
I
Because
don't
this is
know,
a
to
really
tell you
cool
the
picture.
truth.
These pictures are cool.
Yeah, those are neat.
But you said they do this now. Like
Yeah, they do
restarted
do them
it?
now. They
That's
start
cool.
doing them. But
Where do they take the picture at now?
Usually in front of the police station. Back before they had the sophisticated camera system that they have now, they had what they called wrap alarms. Basically, they'd put a sound speaker up with a camera inside. That way, if they were robbed, the clerk, all they had to do was press a button, and they got pictures of the bad guy.
In the bank?
In
Is that what you
bank, or
said?
usually like grocery stores and stop
Yeah.
and robs and things like that. A picture or your weight taken. Back in the day before officers had batteries, for their flashlights, what'd they do? Well, they had coal oil lamps. And the light only went out about that far. The big benefit to those was when they lit them, they were warm, so they'd put them on the inside of their coat during the winter, and that helped them stay warm. And then the battery was invented, and different flashlights at the time.
Mag light or whatever.
Yep.
I got one like that. That long one there. I
Yeah.
don't know how I got it, but somehow I got it. Somebody gave it
They
to me
were
or something.
they were available in the open market.
Yeah, somebody gave it to me at one point. But the funny thing is, the light, I don't know how many batteries that thing holds, but the light isn't very, you can have a little tiny pot, now these little LED
Oh, yeah.
jobs.
Like that one there, it'd bring down an airliner
Yeah.
and shine it up.
That big old mag light, that thing wasn't very bright at all when it had brand new batteries in
The
it.
benefit of that was it was a
Smack somebody on the
good
head with it.
nightstick.
Yeah. Yeah, because you would be holding it like this.
Somebody for carrying a concealed weapon, you had to go into court and prove that it was an actual weapon and worked. So one of the things they did is they made this box, put a pistol barrel in this hole here, shoot it, and then they checked these papers. If they had a bullet hole in them, you know it was past that. But if there's no bullet hole in them, you know the bullet didn't go that far. And you could dig it out and then take it to court. And said, I test fired the weapon, here's the spent bullet. Unfortunately, some coppers can't hold a barrel level, and they would hold it
I
up.
can see that. Yeah.
Or if you notice, the wood is discolored here. This was mainly meant for pistols. Somebody stuck a rifle in there, and they had to replace the.
Jeez.
Hey, let's test it out. How long that was back? How long back did that piece of equipment get used?
19.
Was that for a ballistics test or whatever? Or like
Not so much for a ballistic test. It's just to prove that the
the gun worked or
gun
whatever?
worked.
Yeah. So if a criminal was accused of shooting somebody, my gun doesn't even work.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, like I
you
said,
took the gun off of me, but it doesn't work.
if
you know?
I stopped you and found you had a gun, I could arrest you for CCW
yeah,
back in the day, and you had to show that that gun actually worked.
I got you. For the arrest of stick, is what
Right.
you're saying? Yeah.
Women in police department, they've always had them, but usually they were in the jails, jail matrons. 1974, Cincinnati had the first two female street cops graduate the academy. And then here are some other ladies throughout the department that have gone further. And some of the cameras, watch the road here. Some of the cameras they've used in the past for investigation and things. Probably too young to remember flash bulbs. The individual flash bulb you had to put
Yeah.
on for each picture.
The Polaroids,
The Polaroid,
these things would be crazy.
the old time video machine, VCRs.
I remember I used to be fascinated. My grandpa had a camera that had those. Some of those flashes would turn. Remember,
Yep.
they would turn.
Cube.
You get four
Yeah.
shots on one, or one of them was like a bar like that one.
Like those right there.
Yeah, they're like these bulb jobs here,
Yeah.
and they would be like melted or whatever after the. Or I think you had one something like similar to that too. And the bulb would be basically melted after the flash. It's kind of cool. Look at that camera.
This is a photo enlarger. If they wanted to make an enlargement of anything but like fingerprint cards, they would put it on here, just the focal length. This is the film cartridges that they used.
That's cool.
They'd snap the picture, then they cover it back up. This was actually used, from what I understand, to the 1980s.
Is that right?
And did that well, good of a job. Now they have these other enlargers here. Throughout the museum, you'll see uniforms, dress uniform, pipe bombs that be dismantled.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
At least they told us they did. Now, that's a casting from a footprint in the
That's
mud.
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's real cool.
Bigfoot? No, I'm just kidding. Pipe bombs that have hopefully been unpipe bombed.
And over here is bullet comparison. You know, a lot of people think there's only one way to compare a bullet, but there's like 5 or 6 ways they can identify a bullet coming from a cartridge or from a barrel. Residue on your arms and hands if you shot a weapon. And this over here is a vacuum cleaner evidence text used to vacuum to get fine hairs and other fine microorganisms that they may want to have for evidence.
Looks like that'd be work good in your house, cleaning up, you know, cat hairs or something.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed this said Hamilton County Ranger. Now, I know, didn't Indian Hill have rangers and different?
Indian Hills were they were not police officers, they were rangers. That was the Hamilton County Park District.
Oh, the Park
Ranger.
District, okay, yeah.
A lot of these uniforms won the state, and he was getting to a point in time where he started to settle his affairs, and he donated it to the museum.
That's neat.
Here's some of the police stations City of Cincinnati had. Ever heard of Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you did, that should look familiar, because
Yep.
that was a police
precinct,
station.
yeah.
The precinct.
Which was an actual precinct.
Yeah, they were all.
Now, that was back in the day before Jeff Ruby had it. There was
Oh, yeah.
a bunch of people like Johnny Bench, and it wasn't Johnny Bench and Pete Rose and some of them, or like there was a group of them that owned it or something.
I don't know if they were in that building or not. I know Johnny Bench had a restaurant up by Northgate Mall
Well, that building has been the precinct restaurant
for years.
my whole
and
adult
years.
life, and
Yeah.
I'm 59 years old. So, but I think it had other owners back in the day. So,
These are roll of honors that police department would hand out to individuals that did notorious actions. And he won the Medal of Honor. He was a policeman, and they had these trams that came down the hills of Cincinnati. One lost its brakes, and he helped get a bunch of people off, but he ended up losing his leg, so he had to retire.
what was his name? John Poppy? is
Poppy.
it? Yeah. What year was that?
That he lost his leg,
Yeah. Had to be in the trolley times.
and I'm not sure. He was issued the Medal of Honor in 1879,
Oh.
but they put it in a box that they first used in 1812.
Oh, geez.
I call it our uniform and communication. Police officers collect anything, be it challenge coins, the buttons, the badges. It's just a collection of some of the challenge coins people have collected. Again, here's some more of those uniform day inspection pictures.
That's cool. Yeah, the inspection pictures are cool.
Back in 1998, Oak Hills High School in the art department had a senior project, and they made these players cast of officers, and they highlighted things like dignity, integrity, and other, and then they donated them to the museum.
That's neat. Plaster of Paris.
Plaster of Paris, yeah.
Wonder how they did that. That's crazy.
Back in the day before radios, the way the officers were given jobs to do or anything, they would call into the district on one of these call boxes. So they would do that, it would ring over to here. Happy New Year.
You guys have a happy
Happy New Year.
You too.
They would buzz into the district, and
Were these on poles out in the neighborhoods there?
they were
and
on
stuff?
poles,
Yeah.
and the operator would connect them to whatever district they needed to be in. You notice the map on the back, this is for the city of Cincinnati, District 5 and 4, but each beat had a number, and they had 2 holes. Well, in those holes, they either had a green Christmas tree light or a red Christmas tree light. So if they were busy, it would be red, but if they were available for a run, it would be green. It's
That's
just
interesting
more
as heck.
of a
I feel like in my younger days, I used to see old boxes, on a pole here and there, before they probably dismantled them all. And
It's more advanced dispatch, but it's still obsolete. Some of the radios, and that's one of the first computers that they actually put in the cruisers in Hamilton County.
that's cool. That one there.
Yeah. There are like 60 some police departments in Hamilton County. Now, not all of them
That's
could
a
afford
lot.
to have a specialty unit because of the manpower. You know, a SWAT team, you need 30, 40 people. So they made up the Hamilton County Police Association of all the departments in Hamilton County, and then everybody donated 1 or 2 officers for times that they need to be there for the like bomb disposal, their underwater rescue, and HCPA SWAT team. That way they have the ability to use these teams, but don't have to supply 35 people.
Yeah.
One of the big things they do have is the chaplain. You know, cops in the past, and it's getting better, but they were always kind of macho. And they see stuff that affects them, where they want to let that feelings out, and it really put a lot of cops in the dark places. Well, they came along with the chaplain program. This is just an observation that I've noticed. You know, it's someone could walk up to an officer and say, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay."
Yeah.
A chaplain could walk in and say, "Hey, anything you want to talk about?" "No, I'm okay." But you put that chaplain in a cruiser for 8 hours with an officer, you know, they're there to help victims out and all that of the crime, but they also sit there and they talk to the officer for 8 hours.
And eventually,
It breaks down
Yeah.
walls, and it's
Yeah.
very helped.
Drum and Bugle Corps here.
What's up, Cincinnati Private Police? What's
That was an organization that they were private, they weren't police officers, but they did, through the state legislature, have some powers of arrest.
That's
A lot of
kinda
times
interesting.
down Riverfront Stadium, they staffed them with Cincinnati Private Police.
okay? Coats are so cool looking. Uniform.
Yeah. And this uniform is kind of strange. You know, we have an Amberley Fire Department uniform. You know, a lot of people ask why we have that. Amberley is one of 2 departments in the area that not only are there police officers, but they're firemen also.
Mm.
So they may have to jump out, put on their fire gear, instead of chase bad guys. Ever heard of honor flights?
Yeah.
Honor flights are they take veterans to Washington, D.C. And
They're doing Korea now, or are they doing up to Vietnam now?
I think almost any war now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so they'll just like selective
But
veterans?
they also had retired law enforcement. They had to be retired law enforcement.
Okay. So the honor flights can be retired law enforcement now?
Well, they were veterans, but they
Okay.
were also retired law
I see.
enforcement. They also, first one, they all signed the flag. There's actually 2 flags they signed. One's in Washington, D.C., and one's in here at the museum. Going back to communicating, you know, think about what downtown city of Cincinnati might be like on 2 o'clock in the morning in 1897, and you're walking a beat and you
Yeah.
need some help.
Yeah.
There's not a call box close.
Yeah.
They would take their nightstick, and that would echo throughout the streets of Cincinnati to tell the neighboring officers they need help.
I gotcha.
That they could get to a call box. Getting to a call box wouldn't necessarily help because they would call the district, who would have to have another officer come to a call box and say, hey, so-and-so need help. Well, by that time, it's past the time, so a lot of call boxes had these clackers in there.
So the
Is that
office.
whiskey in there thinking to pick me up?
That's keep you warm during the night. But they had these clackers, and again, it would echo throughout downtown or the city where they are.
Might be hard for somebody to determine exactly where you're at that's making the call or whatever, you know?
Yeah, but it's still a heads up.
Yeah.
You know, the best thing they had at the time.
When did they stop walking the beat?
Please?
Like, when did police departments stop walking the beat?
Well, it depends on where you're at. There's some departments like New York Police Department, they still walk beats. I think the city of Cincinnati still has a few beats that they walk, like
Okay.
downtown, through Fountain Square and that.
Sorry, what were you?
Legislation started what they called the home guard. And basically a city could draft individuals that want to make it in the military, give them some training, and they acted as police officers. And before the police, they were called watchers, basically because they walked around and watched and reported on things. So the home guard took over for the Cincinnati police, and then Cincinnati Fire in 1918 went out on strike. So the home guard started fighting fires, and they were very good at it, to the point that Cincinnati goes, well, we got to do something about this. So they started sending people out to pull in the fire alarms, to create false alarm, to wear out the home guard.
Oh, the fire department people were
Yeah.
trying. Okay, I got you.
So what the home guard did is they got a hold of the Boy Scouts of America, and they put 1 or 2 Boy Scouts on every corner or watched the pull boxes, and they reported on who pulled it. Finally, the fire department said, okay, we've had enough. We're coming back to work. This is the uniforms that they had.
The home guard or whatever.
The home guard, yeah.
There's so much that went on that I had no idea about. That's cool.
I know.
Placing in families very traditional. In that first display there are officers that were killed in the line of duty who had family members actively working at the time of their death.
Survived by father. Survived by brother. Survived by brother.
But you'll find multi-generations of officers working for same department or different departments. There's 5 officers there, 5 different departments. They're all family. Deb, the one who said goodbye, that's her and her husband. They were both Cincinnati police. Police chief of Cincinnati, TG, she actually has family working also. That one has 3 different generations of officers working for different departments.
That's neat.
And then just some of the memorabilia of other police agencies. Ohio or Cincinnati was the second department, I believe, in Ohio that's had motorcycle cops.
Second in Ohio, you said?
Yeah. They had them and then they got rid of them for a while. And then they brought them back in the three-wheel Serby cars.
They aren't bowling pins.
Indian clubs.
Traffic guys wore those boots.
A lot of times at the range they use bowling pins to shoot at.
I had a pair of those.
I'm not really sure what those are for.
Oh, it says here tossing, juggling, and twirling to develop strength and dexterity.
Oh, okay.
I was
That's
actually
neat.
going to think that because it looks like this
Yeah, it
juggling.
says.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. It says.
That one picture of the
It's
Civil
used in
War
Cincinnati Police
drummer
Gymnastics.
boy,
Yeah.
he worked for Newport Police when he was killed. That's a picture of Newport Police about a year after he was killed. So we figured he would probably be standing right in that gap there.
That's interesting.
I'm sorry, who was killed?
That officer, that Civil War drummer
Okay.
boy.
Joe
Yeah.
Pullman.
How long? Okay.
Yeah.
I come on in 70.
Newport Police, 1885.
Yeah.
That's where my sister lives now, is in Newport.
78.
But her house was built in, I believe, 1917, 1914.
A lot of times, if you were a Democrat and they had a Republican mayor, you were not a police officer.
Okay.
Didn't you have another family member?
I had a dad and two sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a father.
Make a display or a toy, and so they used this guy here, it's one of the Cincinnati motor cops, as the model for their.
Yeah, that's cool.
All these guys.
G.I. Joe. Can you show me that tuning fork thing again? On the radar. So this is the older school radar. That one's
Thank you.
calibrated. 21 miles an hour.
21 miles an
So
hour.
they're already predetermined what they ring at.
Yes. Well, it's what it rings at, and the machine is telling you what it rings at.
So you probably have a known calibrated radar. You got the tuning fork. You ring it. You know.
I
it's
have a
good
known calibrated tuning fork.
and a known calibrated radar.
Well,
too.
that's
Which
what
one
we're
comes
checking
first?
out. You know,
Which
just
one
'cause
comes
it says
first?
it's calibrated doesn't mean it's still calibrated.
Yeah.
But if it shows
Okay.
what the tuning fork says,
I'm wondering how they calibrate
Well,
it.
yeah, how does it get
without the
uncalibrated?
being jostled around, dropped.
potholes in the street, whatever. But if they calibrate it manually some other way,
They do that in the factory.
okay. And then I wonder if they test them with the tuning forks too.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
That's like when we mix paint, we have a scale. You know, you put this much grams in, that much
Yeah.
grams, and a dollar bill weighs 1 gram. So that's an easy way to throw it on there and see if the scale's working right.
Ever seen stop sticks used? These are thrown out in front of cars that are trying to escape. This is what it looks like on the inside of the tire, and this lets the air out. Unfortunately, they don't use them too much anymore because they've been finding a lot of officers being struck by the bad guy vehicle intentionally.
Yeah, while he's throwing the stop stick
Yeah.
down. That's kind of a weird thing because you throw the stop. I always wondered that because in a live action scenario, in a perfect world, yeah, the bad guy would hit it, but if he sees it, what's gonna happen there? You know,
Or swerve out its way,
or do you throw it
if
down
you
too
time
early?
it right, he doesn't have the
Okay,
response time.
so you're supposed to wait for him to come along and then whip it out right then.
Yeah. Usually what it is, they're on the other side of the road and you have a string going across the road.
Okay,
So you pull the string
yeah, I got
and
you.
that pulls out in front of the tire.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I was always thinking, what happens if 5 cars go by before the bad guy gets there or whatever, you know?
You're
Most of
supposed
the
to
time-
camp out and wait.
Most of the time when stop sticks are used, it flattens more cops than bad guys' tires.
Yeah.
Federal partners, ATF, U.S. Custom, Secret Service.
Yes,
You know,
Marshall.
Secret Service was made to protect the U.S. currency. Later, it wasn't until much later that they started presidential protection. If you ever notice,
Counterfeit?
yep. But if you ever notice, like when they show the president and there's officers and people around, they all have lapel pins. These lapel pins these are the people, and it tells Secret Service who they are. Now, if you're law enforcement and have a firearm, you have to have what they call an E-pin. It's just a collection of some of the E-pins from different presidential details.
That's neat.
Back in the time, there, like townships, they were covered by the county sheriff, but they weren't usually a lot of them. So the areas they find some, they would hold them until the county sheriff came and got them.
Anti-thieving.
And they were organized. They basically before constables were around.
Yeah.
That's what they were.
This is the Kentucky State Police
Right.
display.
About 1920 or so. I'm up to the 70s, and he was very good defense attorney. He got a lot of people with death sentences off with just lifetime in
Technicalities or
prisons,
whatever.
lifetime in prisons, but he also did a good job getting them off. Period. But he would ask the judge, and you could back then, can I have the weapon after the case was done?
Mm-hmm.
And he had a lot of these weapons. These were all murder weapons, were
Wow.
used to precipitate a murder. Now, like the guns, of course, were the murder weapons, but these dice here, they precipitated the murder because they were loaded dice.
Okay.
Loaded dice. I don't. What is
Loaded dice. Okay, in a dice game, sixes and ones. That's what from my understanding, that's what you want. Well, they load them so they constantly fall on a six
Oh,
and
So
a
the
one.
weight, there's a little
Okay.
weight in there or
That
something.
makes sense. So they cheat. Okay.
They put a little lead weight.
I'm not so much up on dice games. That's
So the
my
guy got shot
understanding.
because he was cheating.
Yep. There's an Indian axe head, a Maddox. Hard telling what these were all
What about that?
lead weights of some kind.
That's lead weight.
I think they were strapped on somebody in the Ohio River.
That's what I was just gonna say. Would you? Yeah.
Yeah, the weights were to sink the body in the water.
The old Jimmy Hoffa
Yeah.
scenario.
Battery gave a jolt to a horse in a horse race.
Where's the There's a battery in here somewhere.
Yeah, there's a little battery right here.
Right?
And the jockey would have it in his whip and it would jolt the horse to make it run faster.
And so the jockey
So
got
it's
shot because
cheating.
of that.
That's a cheating
Well,
scenario.
I think the
Oh.
jockey refused to do it and they killed him.
The heck.
Oh yeah, good old Cy Lease.
Yeah. He was sheriff when I came on. He prosecuted Larry Flint.
He had a tank,
Hustler
didn't he?
Magazine.
Wasn't there a tank? Didn't the sheriff, Hamilton County
Well, it
Sheriff?
wasn't a tank. It was like a bobcat, bearcat for SWAT.
Yeah. Cy Lease was a kind of like
Very law and order.
the Brown, not the Brown County. What's the guy? The flamboyant sheriff.
County.
But is it Butler County? Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Jones or
I believe Sheriff Tehan, who was Sheriff 4972, he was an NFL referee.
So he did that as well as being
Yes.
a sheriff.
it's cool.
Bonnie and Clyde. Here's some of those things up in the FBI.
When I
But
saw
here-
those pistols, I was thinking of
Here's a
some reason.
copy of a letter that Clyde wrote to the Ford Motor Company, Mr. Ford, thanking him for creating a vehicle that he could use to outrun any law enforcement car in the country.
It had a V8 in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
You can actually Google Maps Bonnie and Clyde death site or wherever they actually ambushed them, and there's a little marker there. You can see it on the satellite, and that's a place you can go and visit.
Where'd they get shot out at?
It was in Louisiana. But you can Google Bonnie and Clyde ambush site on
The
your
way
app.
the museum came about is there's a couple badge collectors, and they had a pretty extensive badge collection. But they were talking, kind of went like, I wish we had a place that we could show our badges off to the public. So they actually created the Greater Cincinnati Police, Greater Cincinnati Police Historical Society. And through them is where we became a entity. And this is just some of their badges that they started collecting in buttons.
That's cool.
These are some of the TV shows that kind of highlighted police officers and the guns they used. But there's also some detectives from Cincinnati on there that they did use these guns that the cops used on TV shows.
Barney Miller. Hill Street Blues. Is that Hill Street? Oh, MIPD Blue, not Hill Street Blue. Yeah, and then there was Barney Miller, which is that show.
Yeah. Dragnet.
Adam
Law and Order.
51.
So, carried a lot of times before 1888 or 98 that the city didn't issue weapons to the officer. They had to provide their own. Then they start providing weapons to the to their officers. Now they use the Smith & Wesson M&P.
That's a current.
Well, that's not current, but they have a version out with one more spring added to it, and
Okay.
that's the current one. Visually, it looks like the current one. These are some of the police chiefs of Cincinnati. Chief Craig was the first one that they brought in from, that wasn't part of the department, and it was Craig, right? They're usually gold or silver, so they don't hand those out anymore because citizens wouldn't budget money for it. So
Those were awards they had back in the day.
back in 1880, 84, 85, it was very corrupt to be a police officer in Cincinnati. Basically, they had a Republican mayor, and you had to be a Republican to be on the department. If not, you couldn't be on one, be a policeman.
What happens
Yeah.
if you were already, a cop or a
You were
policeman,
gone.
and then the chief changed hands or
You're
whatever?
gone. So it all came to a head one year where these two gentlemen here, Joseph Palmer and William Berner, they killed a man. But one, because he had influence, he was charged with manslaughter, and the other guy was charged with murder. Now the difference being between those two charges was the one with manslaughter couldn't be hung,
Yeah.
and they hung the other one. Well, they rioted, citizens rioted, and they burned the courthouse. Here's some pictures of the courthouse being burned down. We lost it was folded up in a box in a locker on the second floor of one of the districts. And it celebrates the 1886 reorganization of the Cincinnati Police Force
That's crazy.
into a highly
And you
trained-
found it.
Yeah, and they just found it. We did a little repair on it, but there was a lot of repair we didn't do because we wanted to show.
Yeah.
It's a 100% silk flag.
That's crazy. Almost looks like a carpet the way it's got the fringe around it or whatever.
Yeah. Some of the weapons you see on your right are legally or not, except for the MP40 machine gun. That was a lady husband died, and she found that in the garage. She had brought it back from World War II,
German machine gun.
and she took it up to the police station, saying, "I don't want it." The police station said, "We can't take it." So she left. That next morning, they came into work, and the machine gun was in a bag on the back porch of the police station. So they couldn't hold on to it, so we ended up with it.
Is this a recent thing?
I don't know, probably back in the 60s.
Yeah, okay. And what is that? Is that like a grenade launcher thing or something?
Tear gas.
Tear gas,
Right.
okay.
And then on top, they had the less than lethal shotgun that shot the bean bags.
That's cool.
Tasers. This is all stuff officers carried at one point in time. Still the same.
You looked at it today?
Not today, but I think it was just last week.
FBI top 10, or
Yeah.
top wanted, most wanted. Top 10 most wanted.
They carried Thompson submachine gun. The machine gun, Thompson submachine gun, was actually created by an Army officer who lived in Newport, Kentucky. And he made it for World War I trench warfare, but he didn't get it made in time for the war. So it came out after the war, and bad guys started liking it. The FBI liked it, so it kind of sprung from there. And then
Yeah. I was gonna say, figure somebody from Newport invented it.
Yeah.
He probably had the bad guys in mind.
But that's it. That's our museum. We do have a little gift shop here. If you want to peruse that.
All right.
One of the ways.
Mandatory gift shop.
One of the ways.
That's where you exit is past the gift shop, right?
That's it.
That's why you go in that direction.
Yeah, this is the
But
last grant.
unlike other museum gift shops,
Yeah, they're all that way.
here we're armed. So you know.
Yeah.
You ain't got a choice.
Buy this T-shirt.
Oh, you do. You have a choice. It's,
One of
So
the,
are the for sale stuff behind you there on the rack?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
one of the ways we
Oh,
get our
man.
financing.
How much are the challenge coins?
Challenge coins are 15.
What about the patch?
The patches are unmarked, so I think $5
No, they're up here in front, $6.
or $6.
Did it fit, Brady?
No, it's a little too small. That's fine.
Yeah.
What about T-shirts? You guys got a press penny machine?
Oh, no.
No.
Crank around there and get a Cincinnati museum, police museum.
This is a shirt that's an extra.
And we're here in the parking lot after the Cincinnati Police Museum tour, and it was fresh on our minds. It was awesome. Carl did a great job. That was our tour guide. His name was Carl. And current temperature 50 degrees and rainy here in Cincinnati. But that was an awesome, Brady got a shirt. No press pennies or anything like that, but no mold-a-ramas. Shout out to Carpetbagger out there. But yeah, that was a lot. We didn't know what to expect, and it was awesome. So, and that was a nice little visit with Brady down to the Greater Cincinnati Police Museum. Again, thank you, Carl. He was our tour guide. They're open 3 days a week, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesday. I believe they said Thursday and Saturday also. But when you go in there, it's $8 a head, $8 a person. I believe it said $7 for 65 and older. And then there might have been another discount there for something else. I can't remember what it said. They do have a free parking lot. We parked in the Keynes parking. Guy gave me a deal, $5 all day. He probably put the money in his pocket. But he did give me a sticker so we could park there for $5. But apparently there's another parking right next to it where you have to go up and get a permit or a ticket. Then you go back down, stick it in your car. You get free parking right there on the other side of the building. So I I kind of read that online, but then I didn't know how it worked, so we just parked in the next door lot, $5. But yeah, it was $8 to get in. They had several retired officers there that volunteer, so the place isn't super busy. So more or less, they probably take turns when the next people hit the door. They take turns, and you can walk it yourself, self-guided. But you know, Carl was like, "Would you like me to take you around?" We were like, "Heck yeah," you know. So that was awesome. So it was a great day. Took about an hour and a half to go through it. 45 minutes of drive down there from our house here. And, you know, so it was a pretty good afternoon. We ate at Waffle House before we went down here on, New Year's Eve, 2024, going into 2025. Jen's not here. I miss you. Hope you're having fun up in New York City. But she'll be driving home tomorrow, and I'll be excited to see her. So, hope you have a great New Year's, everybody, and we'll see you next year. Thanks for coming along to Jeff's Trips. Looking forward to 2025. Have a great one, everybody.